It is indeed 1:30. I'm going to go ahead and call to order the meeting, the regularly scheduled meeting of the Rockdale Planning and Zoning for Tuesday, March the 3rd. Roll call, please.
Chair Williams.
Here.
Vice Chair Ratliff.
Here.
Commissioner Miles.
Here.
Commissioner Flores.
Here.
Commissioner Houston. Commissioner Higdon.
Here.
All right, then we have a quorum. Please stand as we do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Anybody feel led to do the invocation?
I'll do it. Lord, thank you for bringing us here today to the P&Z Commission meeting. We pray for everyone we pray for everyone. We ask that you bless them and cover us and guide us in the decisions we're making for this city. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Charles. All right, any citizens' communications?
No, sir.
All right. Presentation, receive a presentation from the city staff regarding the February city council meeting. And I'm assuming this is, as y'all know, Ben lost his grandmother, so he's not here today. So, the short notes came down as the rezone request for property on FM 908 was approved on its second reading. Also, City Council approved starting street repairs on Redbud, San Gabriel, East Belton, and Murray Streets, or Murray Avenue, as funds allow. Any questions on that?
What was that, Mary?
Yeah, it's going to be Redbud, San Gabriel, East Belton, and Murray Avenue.
Yep. In that order is, their priority.
Okay. And the rezoning of the FM 908 is
That's the industrial
Yeah.
park. It is a request.
no changes. This is on the second reading to move
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right then. That'll take us to action items. Number 1, review and approve the minutes from the meeting on February the 3rd, 2026.
I make a motion they be approved as written.
We have a motion to approve. We have a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion made, seconded, and carries. Action item number 2, receive the monthly code enforcement report. It's on the screen also. Oh, yeah, you're wanting me to take this? Oh, man. So the case breakdown by violation in this current fiscal year: trash and debris, 19 cases. High grass and weeds, 1 case. And after this week's rain, that's probably subject to change. And all the others, 16. Case breakdown on 2026 fiscal. Number of cases completed, 23. Court complaint, there was 1. And there's there's 12 still open. Year-to-month comparison, 2024 to 2026. Under cases, we had February 2024, you had 26. February 25, 11. And February 2026, 14. So my question would be, how come 2026, we cracked down on something in 2026? But anyway, that's the data as presented. Case breakdown by violation, January 2024 through 2026. February 2024, trash and debris, 12. High grass and weeds, 7. Other, 7. February 2025, trash and debris, 6. High grass and weeds, 0. And other, 5. February 2026, trash and debris, 11. High grass and weeds, 0. And other is 3. November case breakdown, fiscal year 2024 to fiscal year 2026. Court complaints, 213 Ford, unauthorized land use in 2024. 222 South FM 487, trash and debris in 2026. And that completes, go back to where I started from, the code enforcement report. And if you hold your finger where we're at, we'll go into the monthly Development Services Department report. And I let go of the page. All right, here we go. Development Services report, February. Permits, building permits, 19. Demolition, 0. Mechanical HVAC, 2. Plumbing, 6.
Electrical, 3.
And electrical, 3. New homes, 6 new homes. That brings it $739,755 in new home improvements. Building permits, breakdown, we had new home permits, demolitions, and other building permits. So, the February summary, the Development Services Department has issued a total of 30 permits for the month of February. To break down those numbers, 19 were building permits, 3 were electrical permits, 2 were HVAC permits, and 6 were plumbing permits. An estimate of $1,521,731 was invested in other building projects such as remodeling, roofing, fencing, window replacements, and more. The majority of this estimate comes from the Murphy gas station project, the one at Walmart.
Oh, yeah.
Staff held 4 pre-development meetings. 2 of these meetings were regarding a new subdivision on the west side of town, and the other 2 were with the same developer looking at a smaller commercial development on the west side of town. And I sure hope that one goes through. Yes, Mr. Yes, Mr. Tim, lay it on us.
I just wanted to add to that there were about, well, let me just say, so we've been having some issues with Ranch Road and D.R. Horton with the Cornerstone development, and I've met a couple of times with those folks. Last week, I told Ben to hold off on issuing any additional building permits until I was confident that they were meeting the disclosure requirements that we have in our PID policy for that subdivision. There was about 6, at least at the time I had him do that, there were 6 pending applications that did not get issued. But hopefully we'll get that cleared up and they'll be able to start getting those permits again. So
I was pretty excited thinking they were going to go into this next stage of development as they had
well, we
put
actually
the roads in, but when I drove through there and saw how many homes are for sale by owner, I panicked.
well we had this morning, and I haven't heard from Gerald. They did have their walkthrough, their final walkthrough for sections D, E, and F, 1 D, E, and F. That once they get that cleared, and they'll be able to start potentially building houses out there as well. Hopefully that it all gets cleared up and we'll be able to move forward. So.
I got a question on this. I mean, I live in Cornerstone, but one of my houses don't have the for sale sign. Essentially, we need more people to come out there to live and to buy. So that the PID policy, the PID tax will go down with more people out there, right?
No. So right now, that PID assessment is assessed against each lot in the subdivision in 1A through F is what the infrastructure is sub, and so every lot is assessed that approximately $3,000 assessment, whether it's built on or developed. It's just right now, Ranch Road is paying the majority of those lots. D.R. Horton owns about, I think they said 17 lots that are not yet developed that they would have to pay on. But as more homes are built, more individuals will take over that responsibility. But until they are, Ranch Road is actually responsible for that $3,000. Now, what will bring the assessment down is after the first year, after your first year of paying property taxes out there, the council did approve that TERS, which will basically capture 60% of the the taxes that you pay toward the city of Rockdale. About 60% of that is captured by the TERS and then applied to your next year's assessment. And I think the maximum is up to $1,500. So I think depending upon the value of your house and the amount, if you looked at your tax bill and the breakdown, how much of it was dedicated to the city of Rockdale, approximately 60% of that will be applied to your TERS assessment next year. Now, there's some administrative costs as well, so it's not going to be exactly 60%, but it's going to be close. And that will bring that down, but that will stay in accordance with that amortization schedule that you should have throughout the life of the PID.
The schedule you're talking about, that stays, that won't fluctuate.
I'm sorry?
That schedule that you're talking about over, 30 years? I think?
The amortization schedule?
Yeah. Or the assessment schedule where it says.
Yes, the assessment. So it shows each year what your assessment is.
So that stays. That doesn't change.
That's going to stay the same for 30 years. Now, a portion of that you won't have to pay because of the fact it'll be paid by the TERS.
Gotcha. That's what. Okay.
But it's not affected by how many homes are built or sold out there. Because of the fact that every lot is assessed. You know, if no houses were built out there, then every house in area 1 would be paying that. It would all be carried by D.R. Horton, or excuse me, by Ranch Road.
Okay. Okay.
Any further questions?
Yes. So, what was going on out there? I heard bits and pieces. So, basically, they got assessed with an extra fee after they bought it that they wasn't aware of beforehand. Is that like, I heard it was like $3,000 or something like that in that range. Is that like per year they have to pay that?
Yes, $3,000 is annually, is an annual
Okay.
payment, an annual assessment. And that basically, so the infrastructure for the entire subdivision is about $17 million, approximately. That's what their original estimates were. They issued for Area 1, which is the large, and they're planning on 2 different areas. Area 1, they issued a bond of about $7 million. And that was to help pay for streets and water and sewer and sidewalks and all of the associated public infrastructure, like electrical lines and gas lines. You have gas out there?
No.
Okay, so just electric lines. But all of that public infrastructure, drainage, that could be used from the PID.
So, and that's separate from their taxes.
That is they call it an assessment because it is not considered a tax by the state legislature, although it works similarly. Although that assessment is set for that 30-year period during the bond. Once the bond is paid off, then that assessment goes away.
So they have that, the taxes, is that it, added annually?
I'm sorry?
Like that and their taxes will have to be paid annually? And they put it into their bill, or it depends on how they want to pay it?
So they have an option when they buy the house to pay that assessment off all at once, and it's about a little over $30,000 to pay the PID assessment that is tied to that lot. And You know, if it, otherwise it's capitalized with interest, just like your mortgage, and you're paying for it like 3 times over the life of the 30 years.
Can it be like included with their monthly note?
With their tax bill?
Yeah.
So yes, in the future, it will be, I've actually got on this next council agenda, hopefully we get the agreement in time, to have the county do the collection for the pit out there. And, so they would then get just one bill that included both their taxes and the assessment. This year, for the current year, for the one that was, the bill that was mailed out in December, the county indicated they weren't prepared. I don't know, there were some issues with the assessor collector's office, and they were not able to make that collection. So the city actually, through Ranch Road, had to go to a third party, New Gen Strategies, I think is the name of the company, that did the collections out there and sent those invoices directly to the, separate from the county bill.
So, and after 30 years, do it just automatically go away, or do they have to like go back to court or go to court or something to have it dismissed?
After 30 years, when the bond's paid off, it just goes away. The ordinance that establishes the PID is set up for 30 years.
So when, say, someone comes up and pays the 30,000 up front, and they, right after that, they sell, like a year later, they sell the house, the next buyer wouldn't have to pay a PID tax.
That's
would they?
correct. So you would, that's one of the benefits, because you could sell your house potentially for more. However, and I love it if people do that, because then the city collects 100% of the taxes.
Instead of interest.
You know, I would probably, if I was advising somebody, and they wanted to pay off early, I would pay like half.
That's what we're trying to do.
And,
Well, that's what we're gonna do.
and that way your assessment, they will redo your annual assessment. Instead of $3,000, it'll go down to, I don't know what it would go down to. It would go down probably to, instead of 3,000, instead of $3,000, it would probably go down to $1,200. And your TERS assessment, it was still in a TERS, so your TERS would pay the entire amount of that remaining bill.
So what was the interest rate on that?
I'm sorry?
What was the interest rate on the
On the PID?
on the PID?
The way it's calculated, I think, is based on 7.5%. So it's, I don't know what, I know mortgage rates were up there, but they've dropped since then. But that was already issued, so.
Last question.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone sells their house, do they have to pay that 30-year payment? Is it included, or they just sell it and then the next
So
person
if
just-
somebody sells their house, the assessment stays with the house for 30 years. So the next buyer
Or just pick
would
it
have to pay that assessment as well.
Okay.
Now, they would also have the option of paying it off when they, at any time.
Like if they want to do it for a family member or something? and
I'm sorry?
Like if they want to help someone or do it for a family member, just include it into the final bill that they sell for, and
You could roll, I mean, right now, like I say, it's at 7.5%. So if I'm buying a house out there today, and mortgage, I think, are what, about 4.5%? You know, I could build that cost into my mortgage,
okay.
potentially.
But like, say someone sells it they've been in the house 10 years, the next buyer would have it for what,
20 more years?
20 more years?
They'd have it, yeah.
So information was in the contract, right? Was the amount
Yes,
known at that time?
it was, now they didn't, see, the city council on an annual basis approves, what's it called, SAP, it's a annual PID assessment plan. And as part of that plan, on an annual basis, there is a disclosure notice. There's actually 2 disclosure notices, because the assessment in the subdivision, there's 2 different assessments. One's for 40-foot lots, one's for 50-foot lots. Approximately, the 50-foot lots are like $3,100 a year. The 40-foot lots are like 29 something a year, a little bit less. But every year, that schedule will change slightly. You know, so because there's fewer years remaining on that as well. So the payoff, if you wanted to pay it off early, changes each year. So we approve a disclosure note, those 2 disclosure notices. What D.R. Horton did when they sold the houses out there, they kind of created an amalgam disclosure agreement that had both amounts in one disclosure, in one notice, and then they attached both amortization schedules for that assessment to their contracts. And then in their closing documents, they actually didn't include the amortization schedule in that disclosure notice. So, and there were some other issues as well. They were supposed to have in their MLS listing, so when the property is listed on MLS, they were supposed to have disclosure of the PID. In that MLS listing, they were supposed to have signage at the entryways, and they didn't have that. Now they've put one sign up, and Ranchos has agreed to put 3 more signs up, so there'll be one coming and one going at each intersection. They're supposed to have information on the PID and the breakdown of that schedule in their sales office. And I think that probably in their sales contracts and closing documents, they met the state requirement for disclosure, but not the city's, but not in accordance with the PID policy. And it really, when I think when people bought houses out there, in some cases that assessment was included as part of their escrow. In some cases it wasn't, and I don't know why it was in some cases and why it wasn't in others. But then when the bills went out from New Gen Strategies, from the separate contractor that sent the bills out, they sent all the bills directly to the homeowners because they didn't have mortgage information. So they all got that notice, that $3,000 bill in December, 3 weeks before Christmas. And it was due January 31st. And, it caught a lot of people by surprise. Not everybody, but a lot of people it did catch by surprise. Now, I will say that the assessment, that $3,000 assessment, is pretty normal for a PID. It's actually probably a little bit below the average PID because there's PID used all over the state of Texas for these types of developments. But the issue was the people that bought the houses, it was not as clearly communicated as it probably should have been. And so some people bought these houses and then they got this bill, and in some cases it was escrowed, so it really didn't cause much of a problem other than the fact that they didn't understand it. In those cases where it wasn't escrowed or insufficient amount of funds were escrowed, it caused some mortgage payments to go up significantly because we advised them to go ahead and send that to their mortgage company to build into their escrow. But if they hadn't been to that point, it would cause potentially $1,000 increase to their monthly mortgage payment. Because the average, if you escrowed if you had a $3,000 bill divided by 12 is about, what is that? About $250 a month. So if you didn't have that and your escrow fell below the required reserve that's required by the state, then they had to catch it up. So you had to pay basically a year's, you had to pay enough to have that, to get caught up, plus you had to start paying it for the next year if you weren't already escrowing it. So some bills went up pretty significantly. I don't know how much did your...
Well, we're one of the lucky ones. When I called, ours was already escrowed in.
I'm sorry?
Ours was already escrowed in.
Yours
so
already was
we didn't-
built in.
Of course, they didn't disclose to us in the closing, but it was already...
The number was there.
Yeah, the number was right.
Yeah, at least the number
So,
was right.
but like I said, some of the thing with D.R. Horton, and everybody that closes out there, DHI has the first, mortgage has the first, 2-3 months, and they sell off to another mortgage company. So not everybody has the same mortgage company now.
Yeah.
So, like I said, ours already had it.
But it's been a challenge. I think that this isn't the first time that D.R. Horton has dealt with this type of issue because they're involved in multiple lawsuits elsewhere throughout the country. But I did meet with them yesterday, and they basically, I sent them an email. I don't think I've gotten a response yet, but I'm asking them, use this disclosure, if you agree to use this disclosure report in your document, in your contracts and documents, and make sure that the information is available in your sales office. They've already put a notice in the website. I also asked them to attach that disclosure, because they just, in the website, in the MLS listing, it just says this property is part of the Cornerstone subdivision and is subject to PID assessment. For more information, contact the city for that. So I wanted to have that right on their website.
The sign showed up the day after you released that statement from the city.
Did
Well, I mean, like the day after it showed up.
yeah.
And so all of a sudden, there's a sign grew.
Well, and Ranch Road put the one sign up,
Yeah,
but I know Councilman Caffey drove out there
yeah, it's
looking for it,
yeah.
and he drove right by it, didn't see it. And
I only noticed it because I walk my dog right there every other day, and I said, "Man, this sign is not here." 'Cause
and when he was leaving, he stopped because there was a school bus there, and he was sitting there at the intersection. Happened to look in his rearview mirror, and a ways back, he saw a sign. It's not a big sign. It's only about probably 18 by 24. And so he turned around and drove back, and that's what it was. And they had just put it up there a couple weeks ago.
Well, it
So-
seems funny that it wasn't included in some people's escrow. That seems like somebody else's at fault other than DR Horton.
I don't know why. I don't know why. I know that you can, as a homeowner, you have some options regarding what you escrow and what you don't escrow. I talked to a lady yesterday afternoon that bought her house out there for cash. And so she gets her tax bill directly, but the problem was the tax bill actually went to DR Horton, and the letter from our collection went to DR Horton, so she didn't even get that letter because it wasn't addressed to her because of the fact that she was not on the tax rolls yet.
So was that maybe just like a clerical error because of the closing day or something?
So when but the thing is, when you close on a house and you buy the house, you pay you pay the amount of taxes that are going to be a prorated amount of the taxes at the time you're closing. So that's taken care of the first year. Now, it was not quite correct. She went up to the tax office, happened to check, and she still owed about like $29 or $30. They had underestimated whatever, so she had to pay about $29 or $30. But on a bigger note, she hadn't gotten that letter of the $3,000 PID assessment and didn't find out until after January 23rd. So there was a $149 penalty for late payment tacked on. So I'm going to have DR Horton pay that.
it's the same lady talking about. She asked me, "Hey, where do I send that bill to?" I give you my address. If you want to look for somewhere to send $30,000, she's a nice lady though.
But I think we're starting to get sorted through it. One of the things, though, that council and myself are asking is that those homeowners really need to be made whole in some kind. So because yes, you can fix and give proper notice going forward, but now there's 62 houses that have actually been sold out there, and some of those people didn't have proper notification.
There's a few.
It's going to be a hard case to make because it was all in the contract with the amortization schedule, and there was state required disclosure notice in the closing document. But if you've ever bought a house, you're signing hundreds of pages of documents very quickly, and
Fine print.
generally,
Yeah.
I take those and I put them in a folder and I keep them, but I never read through them carefully.
Yeah. Oh no, I called. I asked. I said, "Is there any point in time where I signed this PID tax thing?" And it took them like a day or so, and they said, "Yes, right here." It wasn't at closing time, but I did sign it.
Yeah,
I just signed it.
yeah.
I mean, it's got my signature on it, and nobody. I mean, my handwriting is not real neat, so I knew that it was mine.
But I know the new subdivision is going to also be asking for a PID TERS combination. And so we're just going to have to make sure, and I'm going to be recommending to council that they amend the PID policy to be a little bit more explicit. And then if they keep me for a while, I'll be able to make sure that it's followed.
I had a question. So, the requirements that the city asked for disclosure, like for the pit thing, for the pit tax, before, like they said, the new subdivision coming is gonna require the same thing, or, is there any way the city can, before they start closing or signing, is they,
As
can they
what?
follow up with them to make sure that they are disclosed in the,
Yes.
okay.
I was not aware of the details of the PID policy until Barbara Bowler-Wells, our city attorney, sent me a copy of it, of the one that we had adopted in like 2022. But it's pretty clear, because I was saying, what I was telling them is that if we do another one of these, we need to include in their agreement that these are the disclosure requirements that they'll
Yeah.
comply with.
I
And
agree with that.
in
yes,
the
yes.
development agreement, it said that they would comply with state, all state, federal, state, and local ordinances and rules and regulations, which that's the local
Well,
regulation.
Immediately what comes to my mind is RESPA,
Huh?
the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act. That's
Well, I am gonna,
dictates what you, like how you have to disclose certain things and just,
yes.
I mean, and that's one of those things that separates just a signature on a piece of paper and you didn't read the fine print. Well, if they're required to disclose it in a certain way, then they definitely have some.
Well, I am going, instead of just saying that, it shall be posted at all, entryways to the subdivision, I'm gonna say that it has to be a sign that has of this size with this size lettering.
Well, and it's not just that though, but the RESPA applies to the real estate agent, the lender, like a bunch of steps along the way that people could be at fault for the way that they went about doing everything, because something definitely fell through the cracks for some people.
Yep.
And some of the neighbors and residents out there, they feel that the city didn't do their, do a good job of communicating or letting it known that this was there. And I said, well, they did. They required them to have this in their disclosure, in the closing documents, but D.R. Horton didn't do it.
See, our PID policy currently states that they shall provide PID disclosure in accordance with state, and it references specific state code, which I checked and they did. But I want them to use our disclosure notice, because I think our disclosure is clearer, and there's not going to be any question at that point.
Do you think that's partially why several people have put their homes on the market?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of people. Now, I don't know how serious they are,
Yeah,
Nathan, because
honestly,
there's either 9 or 12 for sale by owner signs out there.
Yeah, and-
I only saw one of them that actually had the phone number listed.
Yeah, I think there's really only one that's like, she's pretty, really needs to sell her
Those are
home.
only like
And it could be that they have to sell because of the fact that if their escrow increased $1,000, maybe they just don't have the budget to pay that.
I mean, I see that, I signed that disclosure, so
I
what
can
kind of,
see that happening because a lot of, they was having hard times getting people in the homes because it was too high or expensive to get in or whatever.
Yeah, that was a thought that hit me going through there. Is this a protest pushback, or is this really trouble? That's
some of it,
I
think the majority of it's
suspect it,
protest.
I know that it is probably a combination of both. The fact is, they're upset, they want to sell their home. They can sell their home for enough money, I'd sell my house today.
and so the new section is, you said D, E, and F, or
D, E, and F, they had the walkthrough today, so in April, that'll be on council to accept that infrastructure, and then they would be able to start building houses out there, assuming they get that release. And then after that, section 2, or area 2, they would actually be looking to issue additional bonds, an additional bond for, and I don't know whether council will approve that or not, based on, where they're at right now. They might, and
is
if,
that the area, section 2, is that the one that is condominiums part of it, or is that still housing?
I've got this map right here, I'll show you. excuse me, is one, A, B, C, D, E, and F in this area here. I think this area here is area 2. Cause like, you know, I don't know exactly where are you here? So, like this is A, this is B, this is C, D, E, and F. Or maybe this is F, maybe this area is F.
Well, the condominium is supposed to be, near the juvenile center side, right?
Yes,
Sorry?
yes.
So, right here, looks like the condominium will be right here.
Close to the farm to market road down by
And I'm not sure where's the school land that they were setting aside?
that blue section.
Oh, the blue
Yeah.
section right here.
Yeah.
I was thinking that was water.
Yeah. That would be pretty good too, but that was initially bookmarked for the school.
Okay. Got it. But anyways. So it'll be interesting.
I need to drive back in there. I haven't really been out here.
Any further questions?
Good.
All right then. It's 2:07 by this clock. Going to go ahead and conclude our meeting. Thank y'all for coming, and I missed the 7-minute mark by about an hour. I thought it was gonna be a quick meeting. It'll be over in 10 minutes.